guys, thanks so much for clicking on the video. My name is Leah and let's get into a little chitty chat, okay? And we're gonna be talking about the second part and the final part of Kenya Moore's interview with Carlos King. I know I'm late, but we here now, so let's get into it. Right, y'all, so we just gonna have a chat. My thoughts might be scattered everywhere. If I forget something, my bad. But I just want to talk about the things that stood out to me, or the comments that stood out to me in this second part of the interview. So it opens up where it left off, where you have Carlos asking Kenya, like, girl, what really went down? What's the truth about you and Apollo, Phaedra, in that situation? And Kenya pretty much said Phaedra got on Arsenio Hall with Portia and with Cynthia and said that lied. She said she lied on me and said that I was out of town in the same state as Apollo, and that I propositioned him to give him like a BJ. And I don't remember this. I really don't. Honestly, we 15 seasons in, everything is merging together, but I don't remember. I remember them saying about the text messages and everything, but what I don't remember this about the Arsenio Hall thing, mainly because I think I was too young and I really wasn't invested in the show early on like that. But shout out to a content creator. Her name is Jay Lee. She has a YouTube channel called Jay Lee's Corner, and she posted on Twitter, and a couple of people like retweeted, and it popped up on my timeline. The actual clip of the segment of where you see Portia, Cynthia, Phaedra, and even Peter was there on the Arsenio Hall show, where Phaedra tells this lie on Kenya about Apollo and her trying to proposition him. And it was funny, and it was like how fast the tables turned, because you got Portia sitting there in her best rainbow fashions talking about, I don't even like to look at a married man in the eyes, I just talked to them for 3 minutes. It's like, but you married another woman's husband real quick before the divorce, okay? You was in cahoots with him. And then Kenya even brings up about even Cynthia was like co-signing, because Cynthia even was like, yeah, that's crossing the line. And Peter was there too. The crazy thing is like when it came out that Apollo lied on Kenya, I feel like I remember Peter apologizing. I think it was Candy. I think Candy and Peter were the only two that like apologized to Kenya when it was pretty much told that it was a lie, because as they're talking about this conversation, I do remember Apollo apologizing to Kenya, and Carlos let it be known that like Apollo came up to me and was telling me like, he told me it wasn't true. And I was telling Apollo, well, you need to have a sit down with her and and talk this out. And Carlos said, when back in the day when we were doing it, if it was a situation where there could be a sit down where things could be hashed out, we encouraged the people to hash it out. We encouraged everyone to like hash it out. So he wanted to do a sit down. Kenya was kind of like, I don't know, like people already calling me a whore, a Jezebel spirit, like, and I don't want to have a sit down with a woman, with a married man without his wife. Like, I don't want to have this sit down. And it took a lot of probing from Carlos as well as production to get Kenya to sit down with Apollo. And Carlos was like, that 5-minute like apology scene actually took more than 35 minutes because Apollo wasn't trying to be direct with his apology. And y'all know how I feel about when people apologize. I'm of the belief, don't apologize if you don't mean it, because it means that your apology wasn't sincere and you didn't mean it. But if you are gonna apologize in the correct way, which means actually say why you're apologizing and what you're sorry for. And Kenya was like, I kept asking him, what are you apologizing for, Apollo? Like, what are you apologizing for? Because he wasn't being very direct, and then eventually he was direct with it and said what he was apologizing to her for. And my thing about it is, when I look back at that situation, because like I said, I was young when the earlier seasons came out, and I have my feelings about Kenya, but I do feel, even when I go back and look at like old clips of the show, I feel like everybody in this situation, when it comes to the whole Phaedra, Apollo, and Kenya situation, has blame. It's not equal blame, but I feel as though everybody has blame. The people that have the most blame, in my opinion, is Apollo and Phaedra, because to lie and to tarnish somebody's character, because they succeeded. They did succeed, if in some regards with some fans, but to do that because you were in opposition to somebody is nasty work. It is nasty work. To lie like that is nasty work, okay? And they used the viewers who already did not like Kenya to their advantage, because people ran with it, and they still running with it, even though it's been proven to be a lie, and the people apologized to her, because Kenya even brought up, like, people still to this day still label me as, like, you know, being a home wrecker or being a Jezebel. And Carlos even brought that up. He was like, yeah, that's the thing about, like, the bad side of being on reality TV. Once you get a name, it's very hard to get rid of. And he talked about how you know, even to this day, I'm still labeled. And he was talking about, like, Dungeon Gate. And we all know that a lot of people feel as though, and I don't know if Phaedra was the one that said it, but I remember that rumor going around that Carlos was one of the people, or the person, or the catalyst that pushed Phaedra to make up that rumor, or to say that rumor to Portia about them wanting, you know, to take her down to the dungeon. You know, and he was like, it's been proven I didn't say that, and people still run with it. So we know for sure after this interview that both Carlos and Kenya don't see it for Phaedra. Like, they think that lady is an evil person from the pits of hell. I wonder who else, because Kenya even said there's like 2 people that she feels are bad people, and I wonder if she's talking about Kim. Either Kim or Phaedra. I don't think it's Nene, because she gave Nene her props. And we know it's not Portia. I feel like those are the only 2 people that she really had it out with like that. Even though she had it out with Nene and Portia. But, like, there was still, like, a friendshipy kind of vibe there with them. They still had a drop of respect for each other. I don't think Kenya respects or likes Phaedra or Kim. So I think those are the 2 ladies that she was talking about. But yeah, and the reason why I feel like Kenya might have a bit, like, not might have, has blame to me, is there was a line that Kenya crossed, because, like we always say, they can only edit what you give them. And there was times where I felt like, Kenya, like, girl, you doing a bit much with this lady's husband. Like, the flirting is heavy. The flirting is very heavy, and you need to reel it in a little bit. And that's not to say that, like, Apollo doesn't have blame, because he definitely has blame, because it takes 2 people to flirt. But there should have been an understanding at some point where it was like, cut it off. But I do think Phaedra was nasty, as well as Apollo, for doing that to her, because that wasn't right. That was not right to ruin that lady's reputation like that. So the conversation, I think, continues, and then they get on the topic of Portia. And that was very interesting to me. And the reason why it was interesting to me is because we know Portia and Kenya have, like, an up and down relationship. But I was surprised that she called Portia her little sister, because I was like, Portia was a grown adult when she first came to the Atlanta house, Real Housewives of Atlanta. Let me see how old Portia was. Let's see, on her first season of Real Housewives. Let me stop for they flag my video. So Portia was 31 when she was on Real Housewives of Atlanta. That was her first season, and it said she premiered in 2012. So she was an adult. Portia was an adult. But Kenya pretty much says that she never felt like Portia went below the belt with her, in the sense of using, like, her childhood trauma and her relationship with Mark against her. And I think about it, no, not really. I don't think Portia ever went that far with Kenya. She always just talked about Kenya's appearance and her being a slut from the 90s. That comment. But I don't ever remember her going below the belt. And neither did, I don't even think Kenya went below the belt with Portia. Kenya always read Portia with her own tea. Like, girl, you're stupid. Like, you're violent, which is true because we've seen Portia be those ways. So I don't really believe that they ever went that far below the belt. So I can kind of get the whole sister vibes, but I'm kind of over people trying to infantilize Portia because Portia was an adult. She was 31 years old. That frontal lobe was developed. Like there was a learning process with Portia, I will admit, like where she had more growing to do with her situation with Cordell. And even Kenya talks about how she was disappointed that Portia wasn't there for her in the way she thought she would be because, you know, they got close because they both had babies around the same time. I think PJ is a little bit older than Brooklyn, like maybe a year older than Brooklyn, because I remember that picture, that scene of them where they were dressed in like the princess outfits. And I think Brooklyn, or no, I feel like it was PJ. PJ looked bigger than Brooklyn, which made me feel like they weren't really around the same age, but they were pregnant around the same time. And she was just like, we bonded over that. And then, you know, I'm going through my situation with Mark and you're laughing at me. I do feel like in season 13, Portia really did switch up on Kenya, because I really thought Portia and Kenya were going to come into that season as friends. But as that season continued, I felt like Portia was like trying to have her own little clique. Like it was like, okay, I've been on this show for this many seasons. I'm a lot older. I'm a lot mature now. Like I'm going to have my squad, because the way Drew, LaToya, who else was on that show? Fallon were like, they were clamoring to be around Portia, because the other ladies that were on the show with her were like Cynthia, was Candy, Kenya, and Marlo. It was kind of like the older ladies, well, you know, the aunties, even though they are all aunties age. When you hit 40, you are an auntie to some people. Like, so they called them the aunties. And I think Portia was trying to have her young girl clique and wanted to turn on the older ladies, because that's what it felt like to me, because it was just kind of like there was really no need for you to have an issue with Kenya. And I've always looked at Portia differently ever since the whole Black Lives Matter situation, and they were in were they in Savannah? They were in Savannah. And she talked about saying like that black life is not, she said something that just, it rubbed me the wrong way when she was talking about Kenya when it came to Black Lives Matter, that I was just like, ew. Like that really put us, there was already a stain when it came with Portia. But that one really, I was just like, girl, that was harsh, my good sis. That was in very poor taste. But you know, Kenya was just like, you know, our relationship is better now. Like they follow each other on Instagram, and they seem to be in a better. She was like, they talk to each other on the DMs. I think I just saw I think it was Shamia's daughter's birthday, where it was like this picture. It was Shamia, Kenya, Portia. I think I saw Candy was in there, and it was like, oh, and Maylene, the hairdresser lady. I used to follow her back in the day. I don't know if I follow her still on Instagram, but you know what, Instagram's algorithm, you never know who you following anymore. But they all took a picture together, and everyone seems to be in such good spirits. It's crazy that I'm watching this, and I just watched that clip of Portia talking about Simon, and I think it was like an E! News interview where they asked her like, would she come back to Roa? And she pretty much was like, I'm in such a good place. I married my best friend. Like the environment would have to be right, and the coin would have to be coining. I feel as though if Portia were to come back to Roa, she would not be the Portia that a lot of her fans know and love. Portia would curate her life in a way where people would not be looking at Simon with the side eye, even though we all are still looking at that man with the side eye. But I think she's in this state of where she really wants to protect her relationship the same way that Kenya wanted to protect Mark. And it's like they feel like this relationship is something that's worth fighting for, that they don't want to jeopardize it with the show. So I would be very surprised if she would come back. I think they would like to have her back. I definitely think they would like to have her back, but they would have to give her the right check. They really would have to cut a check for Portia to come back. So the other topic was, what is ruining the show, and do you think that it's Marlo? And Kenya said yes, that she believes it's Marlo. Like, unequivocally, she believes that it's Marlo. She's like, Marlo is not being her authentic self. She started off the season fighting with Candy about, the restaurant, the death of her nephew. Now, because that didn't go anywhere, you chasing me out of restaurants and I'm not trying to give you anything, and they cut those scenes out, to now like she's this savior of foster care. But we need to know why you have a chairlift in your house. And everyone on Twitter was like, what is Kenya talking about? Y'all, someone actually showed an episode from season 1, not season 1, but the season 14 of when Marlo was dancing with, I don't know, I think it was Michael, the oldest boy out of her nephews. And there's legit a chairlift in Marlo's house. And the funny thing about it is a lot of people were like, if you notice when they're downstairs, they shoot the scenes in a way where you don't notice that chairlift. So then Kenya was like, is that chairlift for the gentlemen, the older men that are going up to your room to pay for that house? It was like, why do you have that in there? Like, who is that chairlift for? Carlos was like, Kenya. And I think the cool thing about this interview is seeing how Carlos was able to activate both Nene and Kenya in these interviews, where this is how we got good TV or good confessionals, because he really is like playing with them and it's getting them like amped. And it's also important, I think it also shows the importance of production having a healthy relationship with the talent, because they can pull more out of them. And that's what we're seeing in both these interviews with Nene and Kenya, that like, if you don't have a good rapport with the girls, they not gonna give it to you, because they were giving it. Because Kenya went in on Marlo. She was like, now she got Scott Bright, I think, like Eventbrite. Like Scott Lee, now you all soft and pink on the inside. No, Marlo, what's the real you? Why do you have all those mug shots? Give us that story. And she was like, we wait until the, season 14 reunion to get the story, but it's not even the full story as to like why you did those things, why that situation happened with you slashing that lady's face. Like, you're not being yourself. But my issue with this statement from Kenya is, this isn't an ensemble cast. One person, in my opinion, can't ruin the show. It's a collective. I mean, I get what Kenya is saying. I get her saying that Marlo reeks of desperation, and you can tell. I totally get that, but I still think it is an ensemble cast. It's an ensemble cast on an ensemble show. One person can't bring everybody down unless y'all allow it. And I feel as though production also plays a huge part in it, because why are y'all cutting out Kenya's scenes? Why did Kenya have a grand opening or a soft launch for her finished salon where the ladies attended? Because I saw the picture and her dad was there, and we didn't get to see that. Why didn't we have scenes of Kenya with her hard hat on, with floor plans in her hands, telling the people where to go? Why did y'all cut that out? And I think they thought this whole storyline of Kenya wanting to have a baby with those embryos with Mark was gonna be like salacious and eye-catching to the kids, but it wasn't. I would have been more invested in this storyline of Kenya building this salon, because it actually turned out nice. Because the videos I've seen of the salon, because you can go on the YouTube page that Kenya has attached, the link is in her bio to go to that page. It's a nice salon. Why didn't y'all show us that? Why did y'all cut out Cynthia meeting Kenya at her commercial shooting that she had with Brooklyn when she was in her majorette outfit doing Kenya Moore hair care? Why didn't y'all do that? Like Truly Original is, I don't know what's going on over there. because Truly Original also does Summer House Martha's Vineyard, which I thought was a decent first season, as well as Real Housewives of Potomac. They did Candy and the Gang, and they also do Winter House and Summer House, which a lot of people like Winter House and Summer House. So I'm just kind of like, why doesn't it translate on Real Housewives of Atlanta or Potomac? Because there's been times with Potomac where I'm just like, yeah, some production need to work on this. Like, they either need to get Purveyors of Pop, because they're the ones that produce Real Housewives of Miami, or they need to get Evolution Media that does Real Housewives of OC and Beverly Hills. Because it's weird that it does not translate well. Like, this production team is not translating well with Atlanta. Because I went on Truly Originals page and I found out that they did Ink Master. Ink Master used to be my show. But they also do Real Housewives of Dubai. And I thought that their first season was good. Like I just said, Summer House Martha's Vineyard. They do Summer House and Winter House. They did Candy and the Gang, which was decent. Like, Potomac is hit or miss at times. But it's like, why is this not true? Who does Married to Medicine? Married to Medicine production company. They production company be with it. Let me see. Married to Medicine. Married to Medicine. Production. So Married to Medicine is Purveyors of Pop. They need to come over to Atlanta, because Married to Medicine has yet to have one bad season, in my opinion. They might have had one season where it was the beginning of it started off kind of blah, but closer to the end, I was locked in. Okay, Purveyors of Pop be doing their thing, so it's crazy. It's just like, I think it's a whole issue. Like, things need to be revamped. And if they are going to bring in new housewives, they need to stop picking the Manettas and the Courtneys. They need to stop it. Because when I tell you Kenya was dragging Marlo and Courtney, she aired Courtney out. She said Courtney doesn't have a home. She's sleeping on somebody else's couch. She dragged Bryce out of obscurity. She don't really have the money she make. The jewelry she make is out of paper clips. She has such this Valley Girl energy that I never would, like, the energy that she was giving Candy and I, that is not her. Like, Kenya was making faces. She was going off. You know, they was calling the lady Yzma, I think, on Speak On It. But Courtney took to her Instagram, not her Instagram, but her Twitter, and said this: the energy you give after securing your career and bag, your investments accounts are solid, you're building a legacy jewelry brand, your family and friends love you in real life, and you were approached and invited to join a reality show as a hobby. Hashtag winning in real life. Hashtag RHOA. Okay, Courtney. Because the way Courtney has been acting since the show, since the reunion, I saw that she did that interview with the Behind the Velvet Rope, airing out Drew and Ralph. Now she about to go on Speak On It and air her out, Drew and Ralph out some more. And you know, word on the curve is a lot of people feel like Ralph and Courtney lied about being cousins, and they might be something more than cousins. They might be kissing cousins, if you know what I mean. But yeah, Courtney, like I told y'all in one of my things, I liked Courtney for a hot minute, but after the way she been acting off the show, it's like, Courtney, you a dud. You can leave. Mayetta's a dud. Mayetta can't even do being the bone collector right. Like, she's always stuttering when she gets tripped up too quickly. And it's like, you got to be strong in your messiness, and she's not. Drew be lying. Like, there's been so many people that live in Atlanta that's been saying that Drew and Ty have been going together real bad, have been locked in real bad. Even with the whole Rashida coming out saying that Drew and Ty are like, you know, they're really vibing with each other. People beyond Rashida were like, nah, like, it's been kind of like a known thing that allegedly in Atlanta that they've been locked in real tight for a while. So she be lying. She and I feel like the only person, even though people don't like Sonya, is the only person I feel like could be decent for the show, because Sonya is not desperate the way Kenya talks about them. Talks about Marlo. Like, Carlos asked her, like, do you think they deserve their peach, Drew and Sonya? And she was like, no, because they didn't audition the way we had to audition. And pretty much, Carlos reiterates by saying that he feels that Portia and Kenya were the last girls to really earn their peach. And then he asked Kenya, like, who would be like the dream cast for you? And she said, because it will never happen, would be season 6. Well, season 5 or 6. And that's when you had Nene, Phaedra, Portia, like, the old girls. But I don't think she would want Phaedra on there. But she said they should have gave Claudia an extra season. She was like, Eva deserved more than 2 seasons. But the issue is Eva kept getting pregnant and wanting not to engage with the girls. And then when she got caught in some mess, all of a sudden it's pregnancy brain. And I don't know what's going on. So it was just like, yeah, girl, no. My thing about it is, if I had to pick who I think should have stayed, who I feel like the cast would have been like solid, I would have, and this is excusing Nene because we're going to deal in reality. I would have picked Portia, Candy, Kenya. I would have kept Shamia. I would have kept Eva. And then I would have added in Sonya. And maybe, this is a high maybe Drew. That's a big maybe. But I feel like those 7 women, we could move the season, like we could go seasons with them. Like, and then LaToya or Marlo, if Marlo wouldn't have shot herself in the foot, could have been friends of the show. But I feel like having Kenya, Portia, Candy, did I say Shamia? I meant Shamari. Shamari from Black, not Shamia. Shamari from Black. Eva, Drew, and Sanya. That could be a cast. And then you have in Shamari as a friend of the show. And then you could have in Marlo as a friend of the show. Or you could feed in LaToya as a friend of the show. I feel like that would be good TV. That would be, because you have people that I feel like the cast could grow with. I think that's the issue right now, is like none of these women feel like their friendships can go beyond what they are now. Whereas when season 5 and 6, and even the earlier seasons, like season 1, 2, and 3, and all of those, they felt like a group of women that you could see grow as a friendship. Like their group could grow together. And we would see like really like cool and different life struggles with these women. And it would be rewarding to watch. Now it don't seem like that so much. It really don't. So, I don't know if this interview is Kenya's swan song, because she was really vocal about how she's pissed about how the network is protecting Marlo and how she's never really been protected, which is true, and how it's been pretty much like the network has never really they've never really cared about her. But with Marlo, she's being protected, and she was like, it's not even just Marlo. If it was anybody else that was being protected, and I would be mad because I wasn't given the same respect or protection. And Carlos reiterates, he was like, yeah, you're the most underappreciated housewife because you've given a lot. And she has given a lot. She, in the scene, I feel like that was like the end of the interview, really, because they ended up talking about like her dating life, what she really wants in the future. She wants Kenya Moore Hair Care to be on the same level of like Mielle, Shea Moisture, Cantu. She wants to have like a multi-million-dollar business, which that's great. Hopefully she can obtain it. I thought it was really cool that she said, I'm self-made, like nobody had to invest in me. I did not have to take out a loan. I saved my money, invested in myself, which is very like, that's probably the way a lot of people want to go instead of taking out a loan. She also talks about her memoirs and wanting Coco Jones to play her. Coco Jones is so pretty, and I could see her playing Kenya. She talks about writing, like, I guess a book called Invisible, and I think that might be the title of her memoirs, as how she felt with her relationship with her mom. And then she also lets us know she's going to be in a movie coming this fall where she's like second on the call sheet, but she's really the lead of the show. I wonder where it's going to be on, like what platform it's going to be on. Is it going to be like a TV movie, like on Lifetime, or is it going to be on Peacock, Tubi? You got Hulu, Netflix. Prime Video, Apple TV. Like, I wonder what organization she's working with. And then he asked her about who's the most high profile person she's ever dated. And we find out that she never dated Jay-Z. There was a rumor going around about her and Allen Iverson possibly being together, but she was like, that's just because they saw us together. But she talked about this crazy interaction she had with Kanye West, where she pretty much said, allegedly, that she got asked on a date with Kanye. She went to his house. They had really, like, his furniture was really low. Like, it was like, furniture was like so low, like on the floor. She was like, I was sitting in the den area waiting for him because I was at his house and he never came. So then I got up looking around the house to be like, where is he? I go downstairs to the basement and he watching adult entertainment. And Carlos is like, was he trying to get ready? Like, what was going on? Like what was happening? And she was like, no, he was just watching it like it was regular TV. And she was like, I told him I was going to go and I left. And after that, it was what it was. She was like, but they didn't date. She said they dated well before, like, Kim Kardashian. So it was probably in his college dropout days. And that's really how the interview ended. You know, Carlos gave her flowers. She called him her brother. He says, I want you to know that, like, God has a plan for you, that, you know, you need to stop taking disrespect and being undervalued in your professional and personal life, which is always, you need to hear that sometimes, especially if that's the mentality you have. And that's really how the interview ended. I thought it was a good interview. I felt the same way I felt when I watched Nene's interview, that seeing both ladies in a different light gives you a better perspective on them. Like, it either could reiterate how you feel about them, or it could make you feel a little bit differently. And for me, it made me feel that way for both of them. Like, I see them, like, I already knew they were human, but this made me be like, okay, like, these are real people. These are not just characters you see on a reality TV show. These are people that have trauma, who are just people that are going through life as people, you know what I mean? Like, as regular humans. So I thought it was good. I really did. I hope they're not trying to get rid of Kenya. I hope this wasn't like her swan song, because it was kind of feeling like that. But I do feel as though the network does need to put respect on Kenya's name, because without her, we would not have the longevity that we had with Roa. Like, Roa has been great and was great because they casted people with wonderful personalities that gave us a good show and a good time. But yeah, y'all, those are my thoughts. So that is it. That is all. Remember to be bravely authentic and hop down in them comments below. Deuces.